iPads, the one device that everyone's grandparents have. Well, at least the ones with the home button and the fat bezels.
So when Apple announced their next big upgrade to the Pro lineup, after a whole year of hiatus, we were pretty excited to check it out.
Especially with this new M4 chip that's faster than this MacBook, and even my laptop. And not to mention this new tandem OLED display, which is all packaged in an 11-inch, 5.3mm slim body. Impressive hardware? Definitely. But there is one question I have. Not about the product, but my poor financial decisions. So why did I even bother upgrading to M4, let alone downgrading from the 12.9-inch monstrosity of the M1 Pro? Everything already worked as is. The display was... Why is it off? Oh my god, it's dead. It died. It's dead. Oh, never mind. It's not. Everything already worked as is. The display was large and I had more storage. So why would I even bother upgrading? Well, obviously it's for the views and the likes and subscribes. Jokes aside, I don't know. I just thought the 12.9-inch was a little bit too big. And with the fact it had an aging battery, the M1 wasn't the mighty one it used to be. M1? Mighty one? Get it? So with my poor financial decisions out of the way, what is it like upgrading to the M4? Or more so the 11-inch? Starting with the painting and sculpting, wrong channel. Starting with the size and build of the device, well, what can I say? This is probably the nicest slab of aluminum I've ever felt. You can continuously rub it just like... Nothing is really different from the M2 11-inch, or let alone the iPad Air, aside from the single camera that it has. Wait a minute. Where did the other ultra-wide go? Same bezels and same overall footprint, minus the 5.3mm slenderness of the new iPad.
Look, Apple's build quality is nice and all, until Jerry snaps everything gets on the case.
Still not as wrecked as Drake.
But this hasn't really been different for, I don't know, 5, 6, even 7 generations. So the same could be said for every other iPad and its inevitable upgrades. Now, the one thing that actually has changed is Apple's logo. No, seriously, if you look, it has just changed a little bit. You gotta trust me. If you just look at the curve here, yeah, it's changed just a little.
It's copper now. Wait. Copper? Apple? Cooling? No way! Okay, with proper cooling aside, this does start to look like more of an upgrade than just going from M1 to M4. As with my mini LED 12.9-inch Pro, I had to use a cooler to keep my iPad from overheating while I drew. 2 coolers! Speaking of overheating, the performance on the M4 is absolutely insane! Go watch a benchmarking video for more information. No, wait! Don't go yet! Watch this whole video first!
Now, if you don't want the numbers and real-world differences, it's pretty massive.
Like I said before, with the M1 Pro, I had to strap 2 gaming coolers to this thing to even have any hopes of drawing on it. And even if I had to, I didn't really want to Asianify myself any further with how dim the screen got. While with the M4, it's pretty much max brightness all the way. And this was pretty much true for gaming as well. 120 FPS Genshin? No problem. 120 FPS Honkai Star Rail? No, nuh-uh. Stick to 60 FPS or lower the settings. What about video editing? Well, on the M1 it wasn't so much of an issue unless I turned up the brightness. Which leads me to believe that the overheating wasn't an M1 problem, but more so the display. I did find the side where the display driver is to be ridiculously hot at higher brightnesses. So this assumption is probably true. Well, that's no longer true for the M4 iPads, especially with its proper cooling and new tandem OLED displays. This display hurts my eyes. This was one of the things that I was really afraid of with Apple moving to OLED. PWM is something that has existed for a long time, and if you don't know what it is, it hurts your eyes, to people who are sensitive to that, at least. And I happen to be one of them. And what does that mean exactly? Well, basically, OLED panels modulate their brightness by, well, modulation. flickering the screen on and off to make it brighter or dimmer. The faster it blinks, the brighter it gets, and the slower it blinks, the dimmer it gets. And this iPad happens to do that. And what is this problem, you may ask? Well, some people are simply sensitive to the flicker. These symptoms include massive headaches, massive migraines, and wanting to smash your tablets to bits. And yes, it means that I probably cannot use this. Unless I take breaks in between. Which honestly, I should actually do, because I'm getting blind. Now for your keyboard warriors who are already typing in the comment section below that the M1 iPad had PWM as well, well guess what? Shut up. Yes it does, but it's different. So what's the difference between the OLED panel and the mini LED panel then? Well, with the mini LED, it's 10,000 LEDs flickering on and off, but they sustain. So instead of flickering violently, they, well, flicker gently. Whereas on the OLED panel, well, you can see it if you change the shutter speed on your camera. Whereas this, you can't really see it because of that sustain thing. And on top of that, there is a bigger problem as well, which I won't talk about too much, but I'll put the images on screen and let you guys look. Okay, to be fair, this grain you would only ever see on grey or very muted colours. And generally this wouldn't affect most use cases. Heck, I even add grain myself to my artwork, so technically this might be a good thing? Automatic grain out the box? No. But besides, artists shouldn't really have a problem with this, especially the ones who don't pixel peep like me. And many of us tend to use paper-likes or any paper-like alternative on our screens, which already add grain. And comparing this to dedicated tablets that already have these nanotexture coatings, this isn't much different. But speaking of drawing, what's the drawing experience like? Make sure you go check out our Apple Pencil Pro review. But don't go yet, don't go yet. Finish this video first, please. Okay, but display issues aside, there is one benefit which I can't objectively fight against. It's the fact that the local dimming is individual pixel dimming, which means in HDR playback, the mini LED is going to be worse than the OLED. And to test that, we're going to turn off all the studio lights and make sure everything is nice and isolated so you can just see my face. Now obviously you guys can't see anything, but I can. And on the left here we have the tandem OLED, and on the right we have the mini LED. And already you guys can see that this thing is a bloomy mess. And if we go ahead and stop talking and hit play and have a look at the HDR performance of each, we can already see a stark difference. Not only the mini LED is dimmer, but it looks awful. It looks... I actually don't remember it looking this bad.
Maybe the dual stack is actually good.
Holy crap, look how much brighter it is. Now when we compare these two, the mini LED just looks really bloomy. It's not bad by any means, it's just not as good as the OLED. And look, I get it. Even though the OLED gives me a massive migraine when I use it, I will have to admit defeat here. Headache or not, that was much more pleasing to look at than that. And you can already still see the blooming just right here. That is insane. Well, not very insane. 10,000 local dimming zones versus... 10,000 local dimming zones versus 4,036,560 individually luminescent lights. But guess what? There's more. It's not 4 million, it's 2! Because... No. It's 8 million because of the tandem OLED. Now, yeah, this is not very impressive considering it's like OLED, but the impressive part is 2 OLEDs. You're literally getting 2 displays in one, hence the extra brightness.
But what about the front-facing cameras? Let's say you're on a FaceTime video call. What is it gonna look like?
So on the left here, we have the M1 Pro, and as I'm looking at this viewfinder, it doesn't really look like I'm looking at the screen, unless I look at the left side of the screen. Whereas on the right side, we have the M4, which has the camera on the top middle section when in landscape. Which means when I look at the viewfinder, it looks like I'm actually looking at the screen.
Now I know you're probably sick of listening to me and looking at this noggin, so let's take a listen at these speakers. aside, the one thing that really makes the experience pro, other than its super polished apps, is DeX. Wait, no, that's Samsung. I meant Stage Manager.
Dude, that was good. You...
And this year it hasn't changed. Okay, Apple, seriously though, why change the keyboard to match the MacBook Pro, add an overpowered processor to make YouTube and scrolling the iPhone version of Instagram faster, and support external monitors when your experience is just a big iPhone?
And with WWDC being around the corner, and yes, I know I said this for M1, M2, and in anticipation for M3, which never happened, but man, I hope there's a better solution to multitasking on the iPad. If it weren't for apps like Procreate or DaVinci Resolve, I may not even consider an iPad Pro as an option, as Samsung's DeX and Android's default multitasking is just better in almost every way. So there you guys have it, the 11-inch iPad Pro. And I think this might be a keeper. I much prefer this size over the 12.9-inch monstrosity of this thing, and honestly, I think it's time to downsize.
But I doubt that, as Kevin will probably regret his decision to downsize and end up getting the 13-inch anyway. So if you want to see that video, make sure you like and subscribe. Also, check out our Patreon and Discord server, linked in the description, as we'll have a lot of interesting things coming out.
Okay, that's the end. That's the end.